Let's discuss a really interesting figure called Alain Resnais, and a screening I watched recently at the Art Gallery of New South Wales of his debut feature 1959's Hiroshima Mon Amour. Not uncommonly cited as a masterpiece, one of Resnais's triumphant works and a paragon of cinema from the 50s, it is a celebratory consensus which I do thoroughly agree with. Although I've always been intrinsically aware that it would put off a not insignificant sum of viewers for a couple of pretty similar reasons. Firstly, for all the assertive cinematographic imagination through Hiroshima Mon Amour's runtime, few films are more reliant on a script. This is a 20th century existential novel or play in screenplay form, and Duras could have impressed the art cliques even if this film were never made, with this script alone. Those uninterested in the contents of said script might have no time for the film. This is not selling any skeptics on art house cinema, and frankly, some who find it boring may express a preference for reading such a written text at their own pace, rather than sit through a 90-minute film runtime. I really like the script, and I especially love how it is executed by Resnais, cinematographers Sasha Vieni and Michio Takahashi, and the two absorbing lead performers, Emmanuel Riva and Eiji Okada. I find the experience enrapturing, although I do understand why others don't, as most of us who might be, say, fond of Resnais's subsequent, more discussed feature last year at Marienbad, which I will be viewing this Sunday, entirely understand why some are not really taken with the film. Still, few films of the 50s compare to this one regarding the artistic priorities, the employment of the camera in an expressly radiant and richly psychological manner. No one could dispute this film's successes in a purely cinematographic respect, though perhaps one could question whether that finesse and originality was put to effective use over an apt, correspondingly rhapsodic narrative. I've always, well, maybe not always, but by the time I was like 20 or 21, I was very fond of Resnais. I'd become a great admirer of Je Time around that point in my life. Noel Oakeshott was a great champion of 1977's Providence, and it was easy to understand why once I'd viewed it. I also remember rather admiring works such as Muriel or The Time of Return, My American Uncle, Love Unto Death, and Mellow. His works from the 90s and 2000s appealed to me less, though I remember watching at least Private Fears in Public Places, which I remember rather enjoying as it happens. He certainly could be considered one of the most distinct voices in the history of world cinema, especially when considering his highly impressive nation of origin. Even when considering his highly impressive nation of origin and the intimidating shortlist which France, produces. Gantz, Claire, Renoir, Cocteau, Bresson, Clouseau, Godard, Truffaut, Chabrol, Melville, Mal, Rivette, Costa Gavras, Marcar, Eustache, Garel, Denis, as well as perhaps some others. Resnais can firmly stand next to individuals like this, and maybe even near the top, because even amongst those auteurs, Hiroshima Mon Amour to me is one of the more enviable achievements amongst any of their work, and likely one of my three favourites amongst Resnais's output. One of the very best films of 1959, without question, along with The 400 Blows, North by Northwest, Navrang, India, Matrubhumi, and Chabrol's Web of Passion. If you're taken in, you'll immensely appreciate it, and if you're not, do not expect it to or attempt to change this, to make it do so. It is not an indicator of one's insight or supposed lucidity, but more of one's perceptive parameters regarding the assessment of a film experience, which is certainly subjective in regard to whether one wants to sit throughout its runtime. A judgment, I believe, independent as to whether the film could be considered a significant accomplishment, be it compositionally, polemically, or just logistically. I'll readily champion Hiroshima Mon Amour at this channel, one of my more favourite films from the entire 1950s.